You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Newsroom After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Newsroom After Show.
I'm so excited.
Yay, we're here.
Bing is for doing, and we are so excited to be back doing a new season of The Newsroom. We are in season 2, episode 1. First thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. I am your host, Kelly, and back with me are 3 of my favorite people, and we have an extra special guest tonight. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I am Kristin Carole.
I'm Kendra Kabasele.
I'm Sarah, the most favorite of Kelly.
And
I'm John Comerford. And yes, she is the favorite.
and John is coming here to lend a very strong male voice to our female panel tonight.
Yes, we need the male presence in
I
here.
didn't realize that.
You're the Will McAvoy of our
Yes,
group right
this is
now.
the Will McAvoy of our group.
Party and party. Whoa.
So let's get started. I'm so excited for this show to be back. Sarah and I had the fortunate pleasure of visiting the Paley Fest panel with the Newsroom, and Aaron Sorkin and Jeff Daniels and the entire cast were there.
In the flesh.
In the flesh here in Los Angeles. When was it? Back in March?
Yeah.
So it's been a little while since we did that, but the Q&As, a lot of information that we learned, and we actually got a sneak peek at the season opener episode on that day. But what's really funny is they changed it.
They did. Ever since, so they actually, and I guess we could talk about this more later, but Sorkin rewrote like 3 of the episodes.
Which the opening episode seemed to be one of them, because I remember it to be a little bit different from
Yeah.
what we saw than what we saw tonight. But either way, it was still a fantastic episode. But do you guys want to start with a little recap from last season?
Yes.
So where did we leave off?
Back
We
in
left off
time.
with Maggie's Sex in the City rant, or Sex in the what HBO is calling it, a Sex in the Pity rant.
Yeah, nice.
When she and finally accepted and acknowledged her feelings for Jim.
In front of Jim.
In front of Jim.
unbeknownst to her.
One of the best scenes
Right.
I've seen in a while, which is pretty funny. But she at the end she ends up going back to Dawn. And
Because that's the safe way
Yeah.
to go about it.
you know, she's kind of a chicken. Mackenzie and Will are in a groove, working together well, and he's coming back. They've changed Newsnight. They're on a roll, of making everybody mad.
And Newsnight, as the season was ending, is kind of in danger because, with Will having making the comment of the American Taliban, that's just enough ammunition that the network needs to get him out of there.
Right, so it's a big controversy. He called the Tea Party the American Taliban, and now we're going into the new season and the repercussions of what that has led to. And the episode opens with they're in a
Conference room.
a conference room with a lawyer, and it looks like a deposition. Is that
Yeah,
like
but
a
it's-
deposition?
Yeah, but it's a friendly one
Yeah.
because it's your own lawyer finding out the
Right.
facts.
So they're in there about this story that we really haven't gotten all into yet. We first hear of this black operation called Genoa, and apparently that's what's leading to them being really in trouble legally, and we really don't know all the effects of that
Right.
yet. We're flashbacking in to find out what happened.
and that's going to be throughout the whole
there's
season.
Right.
something wrong is pretty much it right now. We know that they've done something wrong. There's some sort of repercussions that they're facing now, but we're just still starting to get the details.
And this seems to be the biggest one, aside from all the other things that they've
Yeah,
done and made
exactly.
people mad. This is the biggest one. They reported something, had to retract it, and now they're really in trouble.
Right.
Especially when when Will said that they had to retract it because he felt they needed to. So it's a big deal when Will is saying, and it wasn't the DOD that made them do it. He was the one that said, "We did this wrong. we need to retract this
Right.
now.
So it's a military operation, so it's obviously something like war crimes. This is something serious.
In an article online, Aaron Sorkin actually said that when we find out what it is that they do, it's actually it's so huge that it'll make the mishap that happened with Dan Rather look like just a mere mispronunciation.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm definitely
So
excited to get more into
supposedly
that.
a big deal.
Crazy. Well, Reese is running in the rain to this judicial hearing and gets kicked out. They won't let him in. And I loved the bouncer in front of the courtroom. Like, he is not having it, not letting this guy in. And Reese being Reese, of course, he wants to try to strong arm his way in. Not happening.
Right, and he's actually already out, right? He's already out of the mix, Reese.
Yeah, but he didn't get fired. He didn't get in trouble. The whole blackmailing thing with TMI and him tapping phones, apparently they worked that out internally. So he's not fired. He's still back.
I was a little surprised with that. I thought he was getting kicked out to show that they had done something with all that TMI stuff, but he's still there. But I guess mommy's in charge, so.
I
Yeah.
think the point with that is the U.S. House of Representatives, those people didn't want to let him in because they associate him with AWM, and they know that Will McAvoy had made that comment about the American Taliban.
Well, the Tea Party backs the SOPA, usually, I believe.
Yes. So he wanted to get into this SOPA meeting because they were talking about they needed to help create that law to help from people like stealing music and all that because they own ISPs and all of these things. ACN not only does the news, but they own a lot of different things. So it would be helpful for them to be in this meeting to help create this law so they're not losing money.
Right.
And he's kicked out of there. They're not letting him in, and nobody is
Has he never
friends.
gone to a club? You got to grease the palm.
He was not. He
Throw
was
a
not
couple
doing
of
it.
hundreds in that guy's hand. You'll be in.
But
Oh,
He
come
was-
on.
He wasn't even doing it the smooth way.
Yeah,
he was
I
just
know.
trying to be.
I thought he was just because he
Right.
wasn't dressed right. You know,
Yeah.
you can't get into a club.
You gotta
unless you're
send
looking
like a
good. He was all
Sloan
wet.
Sabbath in there.
His suit
Exactly.
was
She would have
folding.
gotten it.
Yeah.
he just
Sloan
calls
would've
him
got
the
in.
man with the clipboard.
yeah.
So
So
You can't mess with a man with a clipboard.
no, I think one of my favorite lines from that was where he says, you know, you're the guy with the clipboard. I need to talk to somebody better. And the guy says, well, who's keeping you from doing that? It was
And he
a great
said,
comeback.
Me.
And what do you do from there? He has to just kind of sulk away.
Right.
And then we get back to a meeting with Charlie and Fiona and Reese.
Speaking of great lines from the evening, should we do our Sorkinism
Yes,
of the evening?
Sorkinism of the night. Go for it.
So
Sarah.
every after show now, we're gonna pick our favorite line from the episode, and tonight it was from actually the first scene where so Will is explaining to the lawyer, and
Marcia Gay Harden, by the way.
Rebecca.
Yes,
She's in
Rebecca
the middle.
Halliday.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and her whoever's note taking for her, and he's talking
Mark
about
Gage.
Genoa, and he looks at both of them and says, "It's not Geneva, guys. It's Genoa." Just to clarify, and she's like, "Did I say Geneva?" He's like, "No, but you're."
The guy typed it.
The guy typed it, and then he's like, "Yeah, you're right. I did." And the lawyer was surprised. How did you know that? And he responded saying, "I don't like to talk about it, but I know things. It's been a problem. It's been since I was a kid."
People have called it a gift.
Yeah.
He's basically
Sometimes it's a
referring to
burden.
he's psychic. He's joking with them, and that's how the meeting starts in this little friendly deposition, and it just sets the tone for the rest of the episode. I think it was
And
pretty funny.
I'm glad we
Very
started off with
antagonistically
that.
friendly.
Yeah.
Right. There's no other way to start a Sorkin episode than with banter like that.
Oh, absolutely. And in the dry way he delivers is just classic. I love it.
Yes. So that is our Sorkinism of the night.
If you guys have a better one or one that
I
you
have
also
one, but
think
you
is
said
great.
I couldn't say it, so I can't.
Well, you
Since
can
it's our- yeah,
you
go
can
ahead.
say it if
No, I'm not
the
gonna say it.
We'll say it later. Don't worry.
Marissa, do you have the beep ready?
There's a lot of great ones. So basically, everybody's in trouble now, and they're all trying to figure it out. And in the beginning of this, we also get a new look from Maggie, which is very surprising. She
Yeah.
walks into this room, and she is not okay. Something has happened to this girl.
Okay, but wait. Go back. As soon as she walks in, all of us go, what?
No, it was not. It was absolutely not okay.
Right.
She
What
walks
the hell?
she walks in to give Will some paperwork,
Yeah.
and she's got a pixie cut that's red.
Very
No
girl with the dragon
makeup.
tattoo.
Yes.
That's what Rebecca calls it.
Yes,
girls
girls
do stuff.
girls with the dragon tattoo.
Girls try things.
Girls try things. That's
Yeah.
Well, and we found out she was sent to Uganda, and something happened
Mm-hmm.
that totally messed her up, and we have no idea what it is yet. And
Right.
she just
Probably
does not
saw
look okay, poor
things
girl.
that
Yeah.
she shouldn't have seen.
No.
We did a lot of fast forwarding and rewinding.
Yeah.
In this
I noticed
episode.
your hair are pretty much the same, so nothing too much happened in the last year.
Oh, we have not
This
been
is a
in
wig.
Uganda.
My
I
hair
know.
underneath it is
Well, if
short
you
now.
go back and watch the previous videos, you'll see my hair color change every other episode.
Haven't you heard that we live in the greatest country?
Oh yes, of
In the
course,
world.
of course. What makes it the greatest
Our
country in
hair,
the world?
therefore our hair is like
Yeah.
this.
So I'm really curious to see what happens. And unfortunately, and I'm sorry you guys bear with us, but since this episode did rewind and fast forward, we're probably going to do the same thing because it's kind of hard to go
Right.
back and forth and we don't want to get confused. But
What did you guys think about that it kept hopping around from past to future or present? Or which one's
Personally,
present?
I always like it when they jump back and forth in time and space. I think it's fun, it's interesting, and you get to see. I love being informed of what's happening now based on what happened before. I just think it's great.
I do too. I really like it. It keeps your eyes moving. There's no way to get bored. You really have to pay attention. I think that's one of the great things about Aaron Sorkin and the way he does this show.
I mean, let's face it, we're all dying to know why she changed her hair.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, obviously something happened big. We don't know what
And
it
it
is.
helps with the anticipation
Yeah.
because we do see her
It's this-
in the now,
it's like,
you
yeah.
know, the future.
Yeah.
We want to know
And
how
so-
bad General is going to get.
Right.
Right.
We know it's horrible, but so
Yeah.
it does a great setup and reveal.
It's
Well,
a lot of
and-
teasing.
And it's something new for season 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not getting into a repetitive pattern with how you're approaching Newsroom. He brought it into a different level by doing that.
And what I'm
that's cool.
really fascinated to know, because you said he rewrote the first 3 episodes, whether or not he got to the end of the season and said, you know what, this doesn't really, the way I started it doesn't help me end it, so I might have to redo that to make the ending better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
is
what
why it jumps.
I want to know if
I-
that's what he did.
I also think that it lends itself to, in a newsroom when you're breaking a story or you're trying to uncover the facts, you're kind of
Yeah.
putting the puzzle pieces together. And that's very much now the layout, well, at least for this episode. So it feels like you're putting together the puzzle pieces of the show.
Yeah.
Right.
And the
we
characters.
see that even in the introduction of the show, which changed. Now the opening credits are even different. And it's images of New York. It's images of inside the office, inside the newsroom, coffee cups, all the different elements that get you from home into the newsroom. I
Right.
feel like that's what you watch. You see the city, you see inside, you see all these different elements. And I agree with you. That's the way the show kind of went today.
I also think that by doing it, it engages the audience more because you're starting to go, oh wait, why is she looking like that? Why why is that happening? So I think you're more engaged in it that way, rather
Yeah.
than just sitting back and letting it happen to you.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more fun to watch that way.
Can we talk about, since you mentioned, there's so much to talk about because we're back after like a year, but since you mentioned the intro, what I noticed, the intro before was more like, Will at the desk. It's almost like pontificating him, like the newsman. But then now that it's changed, it seems like it's more focused on the action, the work, rather than here is the news anchor. Like, here's the work that goes into putting on a newscast. You know what I'm saying? So the focus has become more news night. It's about the work, not about the man and the
celebrity.
ratings and the celebrity. So I don't know. I just noticed it
Showing the
kinda-
nitty gritty a little bit more
Yeah.
than just kind of what they're delivering. Like what you see
Right.
on TV is this, high profile, very sophisticated newsman. This is what the intro shows. But now we're seeing all that takes
Right.
to get him to that point.
Right. So
Okay.
a parallel for like what Newsnight 2.0 is supposed to be.
That makes sense. I like that.
That's
That's interesting. That's a very interesting take on it. I like that. And that's another thing with the shows. If you look at everything down to the way people are holding a pen or a cup or what they're writing on, all these different things mean something and the way that you take them. And I like that about it. It's so hard to watch it once and then have to come straight in here without having time to really sit and do that.
To
But
absorb it.
but it kind of makes it more fun. And that's why we love for you guys to rate and comment and go to iTunes and let us know what you think about the episode and hear your theories and stuff
Yeah.
about it.
Well, I'm anxious to know what your favorite Sorkin is.
Yeah.
I know.
we
need
had
to
some
start that.
very vocal viewers last year. We'd like to hear what they think about this season.
Definitely. And let us know your favorites, and we'll definitely try to, pick a few and read them out. So definitely do that. So moving on to the news stories of this episode, we get into drones and Occupy Wall Street. And I love that Dev Patel's character Neal is expanding so more and more, because in the first season, in an interview, he said that his role was originally supposed to be very small, and they made it bigger just for him, and I like to see him getting more involved.
Well, he's so charismatic on screen that I think it's one of those characters that they do give more roles or give more lines to, increase that role, because the audience starts to feel for him and they want to know more about him. And there's a lot of actors that you hear stories about that with. I always think of, you know, Bill Murray and Caddyshack, where he was supposed to have 2 lines and he ends up being like one of the most favorite characters of that movie.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not hating too much on the Bigfoot storyline of last season, but because I thought that was actually just like a little funny little comic thing on the side. But it's good that he actually has something more of substance that he's chasing.
I was afraid he was going to pitch Bigfoot again in the
There are going to
meeting.
be some people that make the comparison that it's the same thing.
It could be.
Well, Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah, he's being
I
given
think
the
it's-
chance now.
I think it's very similar to what he was doing at the end, where he was part of that trolling, and they found out, they were trying to find out about the death threats and all of that. I think he likes to get involved and be more of an investigative reporter eventually, and I think that's a really cool thing for him to be able to do. And I think every newscast needs an investigative reporter to kind of get the insider point of view for that, and you know, it's more plausible than
Yeah, I
a
think
Bigfoot.
it'll help his confidence, because he's really good at playing a tentative, you know, kind of scared rookie, if you want to say. And so maybe over time, this is my prediction early again, but we'll see him, you know, move up in the ranks perhaps.
Yeah, I like how Mackenzie is with him, because she's tough on him, but she also gives him opportunity to, you know, get experience out in the field. Because maybe she also sees, you know, she remembers the struggle from when she was him in the beginning of her career.
And I love with Mackenzie when they had the talk in the office where he said, I want to pursue this, and she goes, do you know how many protests I get a day? And it's so funny. You know, again, I'm not in hard news, I'm in slightly softer news, but we get stuff all the time. You know, people will reach out to us like, you need to cover this event, and we're like, well, do you have a big star there? For those who don't know, I work at E-News, which I hope is better than like a TMI, but you can have your own opinions on that. But for us, you know, if it's not, if it doesn't have star power, or doesn't have what we consider star power, but it doesn't have that aspect to it, we're not going to cover it. And I even worked in hard news while I was in college, and even for that as well, we still got leads. When I interned at a news station in Chicago, we'd get people calling, go, hey, there's this rally going on, and it's like, well, how many people are there? Well, there's about, you know, 30. Call us when it's, you know, 300,000, and then we'll cover it, or at least 3,000.
Yeah, you definitely have to have more elements in a row. And, you know, I'm a publicist, so I'm pitching you to cover my clients and what they're doing. So I have to do, on the other side of that, relates to the people that want to send that message. Okay, well, you, like basically what Neal was doing with the Occupy Wall Street girl that he was talking to later. You have to have one clear message, stick to it. What are you doing? What is your plan? It can't be all over the place, because that it doesn't seem real. They're going to make a joke out of you. And that is very true. And he's smart in that sense. He has a very good common sense about these things. He knows what he's doing, and I love that they're molding him to be a great reporter, and it looks like he's well on his way for that.
And it shows that he listens to Mackenzie and to his team. He takes in the criticisms or suggestions that they have, and obviously he's using it for his advantage so that maybe he can get the story, but also he's helping that girl and her cause.
Yeah, just helping to structure. And you could tell nobody likes criticism. It's very rare that you find someone that can really and truly take constructive criticism with ease.
Not even Will McAvoy, guys.
Not even Will, exactly. But so she seems to get a little irked, but I think she's going to listen, and hopefully he did kind of get through to her, and we'll see. I mean, we saw from the preview of the next episode, he gets arrested, so something, you know, big comes, and then we know from what actually happened, like, you know, it gets bigger than what it was. So I just want to see what his role actually is going to be in that.
They set up already that he's walking a thin line, because she asked, are you giving me advice, or are you a journalist?
Yeah.
So right then he's already got an ethical issue.
Well, and then,
He's advocating. He wants it. He wants Occupy Wall Street. He's advocating already.
Well, and Shelley even tells him, bring it up at the next meeting. So
Yeah.
she's intrigued. She wants him to continue to be a part of this group, and
I take that
Mackenzie
as
wants to keep an eye
sarcastic.
on it.
I thought it was sarcastic too.
Yeah.
I didn't know if she was really wanting him to come in or
I
not.
think why would she say it otherwise?
I thought it was sarcastic. I thought she was saying, yeah, bring it up at the next meeting. Like, he's not going to be at the next meeting.
kind of to taunt him a little is what I thought too.
Oh, I thought it was kind of the opposite, where it's like, you think you're a big man, like come to this. Not sarcastic. I think it was kind of a let's see how much
Like
this means to
challenging
you.
more so,
Yeah.
you mean?
And I think she wanted to see if he has the guts to come and do that, considering that he is part of a
and
news station.
We talk. I don't know if we can talk about it, but we saw that coming up. And we
Yeah,
already know he's arrested,
obviously.
so
Yeah.
the guts
He's a
for it.
reporter who's now part of the story. So again, that's why I'm talking about the ethical issues he's
Yeah.
gonna have. So
And-
rookie mistakes.
Absolutely, that'll be another thing. Just add it to the list for this,
That's
for this
Ricky-
lawyer.
And also, to go with the rookie mistakes, like he was wearing his credentials,
Yeah.
going to this meeting. Like, you're supposed to blend in to get the inside info.
He's not a good undercover reporter yet.
Yeah.
He
No.
has a lot to
He's
learn.
barely out from behind the
But
computer.
next week he will be, to the point where he's arrested along with the other.
Wait, but no, I'm covering it. Here are my
I
credentials.
know. He probably has it in his pocket, poor kid.
Oh, Neal.
Yeah, but they just send him out. You don't really see anyone prep him for this or anything. It's just
Right.
like go and see what happens. So he is going to have to kind of learn this on your own, and I really think that that's one of the best ways to learn.
Yeah.
Is kind of a trial and error
Well,
thing.
and let's face it, it makes far more interesting TV.
Oh,
when someone
absolutely.
make all those mistakes.
Definitely. So that's going to turn into a bigger story. So we'll hopefully see more of that in the next time. And then one of the other things too about Will being in trouble with this whole Taliban.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but was one thing we didn't cover on the Occupy Wall Street, because we talked about Neal saying, look, you need one clear message, but I thought her argument about how the press was going to, what the press does, because let's face it, the press killed that. I mean, they did not cover
They
that.
did, right?
They
Yes.
crapped all over it.
Mm-hmm.
And they treated them like fools and idiots, even though they might have had some legitimate.
I have to
But-
say, it created a great segment, and you need to look it up if you haven't seen it, on Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
Where he
Yeah.
goes down there. And I think if Jon Stewart is making fun of
Yeah.
something like that,
But that's what I'm thinking. Like when he says stick to one clear message, do you
Yeah.
think that the reason the press also took it apart the way they did was because they didn't? They went through the 14
I think it's
like
part
what
of
they
it,
did.
But what I'm saying is her argument is absolutely true. The people
Right.
who are running those things, they don't want that news out there.
Right.
They
yeah.
love the status quo. They don't
Right.
want they don't want to upset that apple cart.
No.
So of course they're not going to give it legitimacy. They're going to do what they can to undermine it.
Yeah.
So I thought her argument was just as strong. But even in watching it, we paid more attention to his argument than to hers. But her argument was great.
No,
But
that's
it is
true. Yes.
far more nuanced, far more complicated. His is stick to one clear message. You know, well, the issues that they brought up. Now, I'm not saying that they're right in having 14 issues. I'm just saying that it actually really represented that struggle with Occupy Wall Street. They couldn't get a clear message. So again, they were treated like jokes. But her argument was absolutely right.
So are you saying that their sides were like opposing in arguments? Because I saw it as like what he was saying is trying to help her out so that
Yeah.
their cause is heard by the media.
No, I agree. But what she was saying is it wouldn't matter how we did that anyway, because you're not going to cover it right anyway,
Fair, yeah.
because you don't want these real issues out there.
Because that doesn't make for good television.
It doesn't matter. Not only that,
Really.
not only that, but what they were trying to say is get the money out of. Well, they don't want the money out of politics. That's how they
No.
make their money.
And most of the time, a
You
lot
tell
of
him, John.
But it also goes back to kind of what was happening at ACN anyway, with the money and the advertisers and all that, and
Yeah.
the reason why they were trying to change the news out in
Yeah.
the first place, and why Will couldn't say all of these things, and the
Yeah.
Koch brother thinks, where does this money come from to put the news on the air? So of course they're only going to report on certain things, and it
Yeah.
turns into a whole political issue anyway.
Yeah.
So no, that's absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a big thing.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, good.
It's a good point.
That's a good point. Absolutely.
well, I wonder if they take his advice eventually a little bit, because I know they had the slogan, "We are the 99%," and that became kind of the clear message. However, then you can have a bunch of little things that
Right.
you want to pick because you have a slogan. And she's right, we don't have the patience for complicated things in our society very often. And
Well, especially not on TV.
No.
no,
We just don't.
No.
Which is
Everybody's short attention span. See, I'm already over it. Next
Like,
time.
what are we doing here?
so drones.
Well, no, even before that, with the, back to this whole American Taliban, Will gets stripped from coverage on the anniversary of 9/11. So he's unable to cover this. Charlie pulls him from that. He's upset, doesn't really want to admit that he's upset. And, we see him sitting on his
Listening to
patio.
them. Into the Mystic. By the way, I was very happy to hear Van Morrison being a big fan. So.
Yeah, he was Van Morrison. What was he?
Into the Mystic.
Smoking a cigarette?
Yeah, cigarette. Kicking up.
Yeah, kicking it up. But I like how he answered the phone when Mackenzie called him like he was a radio DJ.
Yeah.
And he did this whole little bit, which I thought was really cute.
He might have been eating some of those brownies again.
Well, I think I think he had a fancy cigarette.
It's medical though, right?
Yeah.
What we learned from
right.
season 1,
It's
he has
true.
medical
Right.
marijuana.
He has,
I don't know
issues.
what the laws are for
There goes
New
another
York,
debate
but-
that we can bring up.
Do they do that for ulcers? I don't know. Do you get prescriptions for ulcers?
Pain management.
Oh,
For
right.
stress.
Okay.
It's for
okay.
stress.
All right, so he's in trouble. They're pulling stories from him. He's got to really fix that whole issue of people thinking he's into terrorism, I guess. It's kind of the message that's out there. So then we go into this drone story. And there's a debate. There's a new producer. There's a new producer
Jerry.
that's under
Jerry
Mackenzie.
Dantana.
Yes,
He's
Jerry
filling in.
Dantana. He's filling in
What a
from
name,
DC.
Jerry Dantana.
To me, it sounds like it would be an anchor from like Anchorman.
Yeah.
Jerry Dantana.
Yeah, that's
To me, it sounds
Brian
like
Fontana.
a Latin pop star.
Or
Yeah.
private investigator in Las Vegas.
So
Dantana.
Jim feels
He
like
kind of
he has
looks like
to.
one, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim feels like he's got to, leave town, so he takes off on the Romney campaign. We'll get back to that in a minute. So Jerry comes in to fill in, and he's all drones all the time. He and
Yeah.
Sloan are all about the drones.
They hit it
They're
off,
adamant about this story. They want to get it out there. They want to get the message. So Mackenzie allows them to put this panel together, and Will kind of lets it go awry a little bit.
That's because Jerry
Just
doesn't
let
want
the
to use.
pitch go by.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Jerry.
I was just gonna say the reason it goes awry is because Jerry wants to use one of his own guys, Cyrus West, instead of using Jim's guys. And Mackenzie's a little hesitant towards this because they like Jim's guys, they get good reactions,
know
they have a
Jim's
good
guys,
rapport,
too.
yeah. And they don't know this guy is a question mark and it's a big topic, and you don't want to say the wrong thing. So Cyrus is a retired Air Force captain, right? And so he comes in there and spouts off.
Well, and here's the thing.
Period.
I don't think he exactly. He never really said the wrong thing. It's just that nobody challenged him on anything.
Right.
So that was the.
It was his word was the way it was.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Sloan was trying, but without Will on her side, it just wasn't going anywhere.
And the point was, and they brought it up later, that they think that he was trying to make it seem like ACN was very anti-terrorist. Like,
Right.
let's get that point across because he's already in so much trouble for the comment
Yeah,
that he
but
made.
it wasn't easy. He just wanted people to know didn't think he.
Exactly. That
Not
he
him.
was a good. Yes, he just let it
Narcissistic
go
phrase,
by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta wonder a little bit too. We know Will sometimes has little hissy fits. If this wasn't
What?
Not
Crazy.
Will. Never.
Never. So maybe this was a moment where he was a little PO'd with that, and he didn't want to stop it because they already took him off of the coverage. On top of it, I think that might be a sliver of why he let it go, because I think obviously that got to him. He said in the bar it was bugging the heck out of him. He's flipping out because
Well,
he
isn't
can't do
that
the
what
coverage.
Mackenzie basically asked him? Was this the reason why? And he said yes. I
Yeah.
think, if I remember, it was
But
kind of
it-
part of their conversation. I thought.
I thought you guys
Well,
were saying
what
that
he's
he was
saying
trying to
is that he was
cover that
bothered
he's
by it.
not a terrorist.
Yeah.
But I think it was that more than. I mean, maybe a sliver, but I don't. Because his motivation is that he needs that audience. So I don't think it
Yeah.
has much to do with being. Because when he's pissed, he does it a different way.
I think he's just so
Yeah.
anxious, about keeping the show afloat, and he knows Charlie's been there for
Well,
him,
he needs
and
the love of the audience, and he's losing that, and he needs to gain it back, and he is a person that needs that. So I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest things that's
right.
kind of sitting on him right now
That's
and
his
bothering
Achilles
him.
heel.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I mean, he ended up in the hospital over self-medicating for last season because of that.
I mean,
For
there's
that
yeah.
article that was written about him that he cared so much about.
Because he needs people to like him, and that played a big part, I think, in that story about letting that guy just talk and not even bringing anything up, not listening to Mackenzie. She's screaming in his ear, and he's just ignoring her. So that has to be really frustrating. And I like how she reprimands him. He comes out, and she's hitting him, pushing him up against the wall.
Yeah.
You know,
I realize she's the only person who can really reprimand him.
Yeah, I think she's the only one that he will let treat
Maybe
him that way.
Charlie, but like
Yeah, Charlie does it
Mostly
in
her.
such a different way. That's it's so wonderful. I love Charlie's character so much.
Because he slipped 2 pushes in there.
Yep.
Yeah, she
I like
did.
Just one
She
at the
did.
end to
That's
secure
funny.
it. Period.
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 Nice one, Kristin.
Occasionally.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. What what do we got next? What's next? What's next?
Did we talk more on the drone thing?
I mean, do you guys want to get more into it?
What
Go
I find
for it, come
fascinating is
on.
because we, as our country, haven't talked about drones until the last few months.
I know.
And here what's happening. Like I just love the way that they again playing with truth a little bit because nobody was talking about drones when it was first starting, or I should say, very few people were.
Well,
and
yeah.
the efficacy of it, and the ethical nature of it, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, what do you think? I mean, what is your point on it? What are you?
Well, I think it should be a national discussion.
But personally, like, what is your opinion? Would you like to give it
Well,
on drone? Like, what do you think about drones? Do you think that it's worth spending all of in these groups, like spending the money on
I think
that?
what we've learned so far is that they're a great way at getting an enemy, quote an enemy, but there's such huge the repercussions, I should say, the collateral damage is huge, and I think at this point we've learned it's causing more damage than is warranted. Because of the amount of enemies that we create because of it. You're trying to get 1 or 2 or 50 guys or whatever it is, and now you're creating thousands of people that are pissed off beyond belief because
Innocent people too.
Yeah.
And not to mention the human casualties, the lives that are being snuffed out that aren't people who are in any way a threat to America.
Right, because they can't tell the difference. Really, there's
And they're not
nothing
even,
there.
and they're counting them as militants.
Yeah, everybody gets counted.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part about, like, I get both sides of it.
Yeah.
But that's the scariest part about it, I think, just for me personally listening to that, is that they don't know the difference. Yes, I get it. It's not a pilot, so we're not, that's a casualty we're saving, but
absolutely,
it doesn't know.
And I think that should be part of the discussion, though.
Absolutely.
Why isn't that a debate? My God, I don't want us as a country to be killing innocent people.
Right.
It's killing, because I don't know what the ratio is. I forgot what the ratio is. There's a ratio to how many innocents that are killed for every terrorist that we get, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And we're doing that, and I just think
our
as a country
responsibility.
we should discuss that before,
Right.
or in some fashion. I know we have representatives; we've already elected them, and they're supposed to be doing our bidding, so to speak. But when we don't even know this is happening,
Well, I think that was Sloan's big argument,
Yeah.
is that there's not a discussion about
there's no
it.
transparency about it. I
No.
mean, and because they are not keeping accurate records because they don't really want us to know.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute. Why isn't that part of the national discussion?
Yeah, well, why would they tell us? Everybody
Yeah.
would go nuts. And all the
Yeah.
billions of dollars that they're spending to, it's going to turn into Star Wars out here with all these, And that's kind of, it's a scary thought to think that people are spending billions and billions of dollars on something that is, there's such a high risk of casualties that have no business having, that we don't need to have.
And I even agree with the captain's arguments about the pilots and all that. I mean, I agree with all
Right.
that. I just think it should be all front and center and let us know all of it. I don't agree with this idea that the American public is too naive or too ignorant or too shallow or not interested. I think for me anyway, I would want to know that.
Well, I think that the public is perceived that way because the government doesn't trust us to communicate, and it's always been that way. Like, how often can you really sit and get a real story out of anyone?
And the argument can be made that they're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
But I
It's
still
a
think we
very
should have the argument at least.
Yeah, I don't know, and I mean it still hasn't happened, so I doubt it's going to anytime soon either. But I don't know.
Even the president is going, well, maybe you should put this in check. We need some balances here so even I don't go crazy with this.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right.
Golly.
All right,
Yeah,
so that was
that's
my thing
a
about
bit-
okay, now I'm off my soapbox.
It's a very intense.
Should we go
subject.
back to the Romney bus?
The Romney
Yeah,
bus. The Romney bus.
Speaking of drones,
I know. Oh, sorry.
All right,
I
so the
didn't say it.
Taliban
send your letters to Kendra.
the Taliban comment affects everyone in
Attention,
this
John.
episode,
Yeah.
even Jim, as he tries to board the Romney bus. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Kendra. What happened?
Oh, well, he tried to get on the Romney bus, and apparently there was a similar bouncer to the one that was at the
Another guy with a
earlier.
clipboard. Did you
Right.
notice?
Yeah.
He had a clipboard.
Who wouldn't let him onto the press bus, even though there were 40 seats available.
Yeah.
And that's again because of how they present the news.
Yep.
And represent.
I have to wonder, did Ben also have to drive himself, or is this a new thing with Jim all of a sudden?
Well, no,
it's
because remember,
like
this is a week later, so that just happened.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Ben broke his ankle, so he wouldn't be climbing on a bus.
Do you think?
He was drunk during that whole debacle anyway, so they didn't blame him.
Do you think a longer conversation would have gotten him on the bus?
No. That guy just didn't want to hear
No.
it.
If anything, it would have been
No.
worse. His tires would have been
Right.
slashed.
Again, you
or
got to
something.
grease some palms. At the time.
I know.
He just didn't want to hear it. He had his mind made up, I think. He was
kind of passive.
Again,
though.
they
He
should
said
have
you can't just let him.
sent Sloan in. She would have gotten on that bus.
That's what we were saying earlier. Yeah.
Well, I think
but
Sloan
I think
can get it
that
anyway.
issue is great because it's kind of played a little bit for laughs and everything, but here they are, creating repercussions for the news because they don't like the way it was portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
Which let's face it, Bush did that all the time. He prevented people from getting on his bus too when they didn't have flattering things to say to him.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just art imitating life. But I go, is that? I mean, you can't. It's almost human nature. But you can't prevent it. But is that the thing? Is that what we want?
It's
'Cause you
kind of
don't
like
the news.
a sticks and stones thing. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And especially in politics, it's always going to be that way.
Yeah.
Somebody's always going to
But-
call
so in
somebody
order to
else
have
names.
access, you got to be nice to everybody.
Yeah.
So then we don't get news. We get crap. We get,
Bias.
We get-
It's
biased
just not.
info.
Yeah, it's
we get
another
propaganda
example.
and
of
PR.
Yeah.
No offense.
Hey.
Yeah, I hate those PR people.
So I can
Totally.
spin this around, okay? You notice how I keep trying to cut the hard topics and keep moving on. You keep pulling it out of me. Stop it.
John should be in PR.
That's
Or a lawyer.
That's damage control right there.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's definitely. I want to see how long if it's gonna go on to the next episode, or if it finally this whole Tea Party thing will kind of die out a little bit, or if it will continue to be brought up throughout the rest of it.
I think he's on the Romney campaign. It's going to be brought up, and as we saw with some of the new characters that are arriving, Jim's going to have a hard time being on this bus based on questions he wants to ask and his affiliation. And
Right.
But I think what it does, because Jim's kind of oh, really? So that makes him even get deeper.
Yeah.
Oh, you really think that was bad? Guess what I'm going to do now?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has such a great way of kind of talking with people and
Yeah.
getting something out of people because
Yeah.
he's like this nice guy you really want to like, but he knows the right questions to ask and he knows how to make people feel dumb and really explain yourself. Why are you doing this? What is your issue? And sometimes a lot of people just kind of get on their soapbox and they forget what their issue even is. So it's going to be fun to watch him really pull that out of people.
Yeah. And I think situations like that, they include it just to remind the viewers more so that, they do have to answer to what's her name?
Leona.
They do have, there's always
Leona,
someone
I
up
think
there
Leona.
that they need to answer to, be it the government, the network, or whoever. They're answering to someone, and it's their business to please them, or else they're off the air.
Which I find the most fascinating. We don't really talk about it, but that's what's most fascinating about news. They're always answering to somebody, so it's always tainted in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, they could run. I won't say what exactly the story was, but we actually recently, I got a bunch of emails about a story that we can.
Which one?
We got that we can't run. The publicist said, if you run this, just remember when this person does something, they will remember what you reported. Now it just gets to be like, well, do we care about this person enough? Or is it more important to say that this happened? And it all depends on how big this in my case, in my work case, how big the celebrity is, whether or not you want to run it. And the same thing gets to go with these news people.
Right.
Did you mean if they do something big that it's like a they won't tell you, or you mean if they do something they'll remember and they won't talk to you?
They won't give you.
They
anything.
won't give you,
They
like,
won't
let's
talk to
say
you.
we run a story on, I shouldn't even use the name, but a big celebrity.
Let me
we'll
use
call,
I'll
we'll
use the
call
name. You
him.
just tell me. You just nod.
I won't say anything, and you'll know it's right.
Well, yeah.
But if it's a big star,
Yeah.
and big star, let's say, does something really bad, and, do we report on it or not? Because Big Star has a movie coming out soon.
So they won't go to you.
And we want do we want the exclusive, especially if other news outlets are reporting the story, and Big Star is going to be really PO'd at the other outlets that are doing it.
Because now, isn't it a bigger get to get the bad story over the movie?
I'm sure that's part of the discussion. It depends on how big that star
how
is.
big that bad thing was. I mean, obviously, if it's in the past, like Britney Spears, took an umbrella to, everybody. I'm sure we reported
breaking.
Yeah, this was years ago. Flashback. You report that because that's big news. In the celebrity world, not in the real.
And doesn't that play into the whole everything that we're seeing on this show about Newsnight and how it's changing and the way that Will did it before to please the advertisers and now they're not? It's that same thing. Do you care enough about this, and did he care enough about the Tea Party? Obviously not, for him to say what he did, but now here is all the consequences of that.
Right.
This is what's happening.
We as a society, what do we care?
Chips are falling.
Are we more interested in that story? Do we need more substantive news stories?
Right. And
advocacy.
And they touched on that with the TMI thing and covering Casey Anthony. Do we need to do that? Apparently we do. Like, what do people really want to see? And it's a constant question, and it's always going back and forth. And I feel that news has changed so much from the nightly news that I remember up to now. Everybody has
will be turning over in his grave.
Everyone has an entertainment show now. CNN has an entertainment show now. And
Twitter is the news now.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And I think that's one of the things that I love so much about the show is watching it change and the arguments that they have and the issues that they raise, just to see that. Because just, from me growing up watching the news and how it's just changed in my lifetime. Like,
what I think they do a good balance on is not only that, about what all the things, the forces that are against them or opposing them, but also what it could be.
Right.
Because when you look at some of the things that Newsnight does, you go, geez, why can't they have that?
I know.
Why can't they report like that? So it is as he's always said, it's a romance.
Yeah, and it's about what do people really want to see. And I think as a viewer, at least for me, it makes me think about it. What do I want to see on the news? What do I care about the most? I think that's an interesting thing that this show can do. Is I don't really think that it focuses so much on making people look stupid or the public feel stupid about what they're watching. It's more, what do you want to see? How do you want to watch the news? How do you want to be informed?
Right. I don't think the show makes us want to pick a side. Rather, it at least brings up the conversation so that it makes you think about the sides and where you want to be on them.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's interesting. It's very interesting, and there's always so much that's going on. So much is happening. All right, let's get into the romance. Let's
get rid of all this hard stuff.
Let's talk romance now. Let's talk relationships. So Maggie and Jim have a little awkward conversation. She's trying to, kind of smooth things over, make everything go back to what it was. He doesn't want to. It's obviously always been awkward for them through the whole season, so he takes off. And now she's
after watching that little patty cake going on between her and Don,
how
that would drive anyone over the edge.
If I'm Jim, I'm just like, I just don't want to watch. Heck, if I'm Tess or if I'm, if I'm Neal, I just want to leave.
I didn't want to watch it.
No.
That was hard to watch.
You guys, wait, so you guys don't do that with your boyfriends? Because I do that.
Well, John says.
As we were watching
I've been married for quite a long time, and patty cake has kept us going.
Number one, right? You learned something.
As we were watching it, you guys made a comment. I heard you, overheard you say that it felt very forced.
Yeah,
like their relationship. I mean, we could tell. We said that from the beginning. Like they just don't. They're really trying so hard to put that square peg in a round hole, and it's just not like working. It doesn't fit. They don't fit together.
Even for her. Sorry. I'll just say quickly for him to count down how many days they've been okay. Like day 13, we're going strong.
Like you got the thing. 320 days without an accident.
Right.
In the warehouse.
That was funny.
13 days.
But then the fact that he said that when Sloan asked him, like, what do you get once you reach 2 weeks? And his answer was a healthy conscience.
Yeah.
That
was
was telltale sign.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Great minds.
Sorry.
You're not in love. Nope.
No. It shouldn't. It's not forced. You don't count days that you're good together. You're just good.
I get the relationships are hard and they take work in a certain way, but it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, not that hard. Okay, yes, I've been a good boyfriend for 13 days.
Yes.
I get a gold star for that. No, you should always
the Kristinism.
Good.
I think that was a good one. Did you hear her?
No, I
what
didn't.
You have to say it again.
Oh, I said things should just be good.
No, but it was longer.
It was,
you said
I have a short attention span. I just know things.
Rewind the podcast.
She just
everyone.
knows things. Yeah.
No, but it's true with any relationship that's good. You don't need to work that hard at it. If there's a problem, you sit down and talk about it like adults. You don't break up like Maggie and Don a million times. And
Although, how many times have we seen it in real life?
Yeah. And how often does it work out, though?
Never.
And then if they do, they're just unhappy and they'll probably end up divorced in 10 years anyways.
So
Communication is key. That's the thing. You have to talk about things, and they obviously to be in the communications business. That's what's funny.
You don't have to talk. You have to patty cake.
Yeah.
Well, their discussion would be like, I don't love you, but I can't tell you. Like, how do you? Neither of them.
And how horrible was that? I know I told you guys when he said, I thought I was being the bad guy because I didn't love you. And he says that to Maggie. And I think that's, even if he felt that, I think that was a terrible way to say it. Not that Don's known for being super suave or anything like
so
that.
It's character, though.
Well,
yeah.
Well,
terrible.
it's his ego, though, because his ego was, freaking bruised by her. There's this YouTube video about his now ex-girlfriend being in love with somebody else. So he's probably thinking subconsciously, I gotta burn this girl back somehow.
He could have a perfect opportunity for Don to walk away, and we all kind of maybe feel slightly bad for him, and then he says that, and I'm like, F you, get out.
Wait, I didn't understand. Was his cousin on the bus, or the cousin got the video?
The
from
cousin got the
someone
video, found the video online.
Apparently the cousin's in love with Don.
So Maggie's cousin is the one that outed her. And Maggie's cousin outed her, was emailing Don, sent him the video, and told him that Jim was on the bus. So that's what happened. Her Sex and the Pity rant, as HBO is calling it, is on YouTube.
You know what I find funny and ironic is that these people are they are experts at communicating to the masses about serious issues, but when it comes to interpersonal relationships,
Their EQ.
communicating with each other, oh my gosh,
Do you know
train
what, though?
wreck.
I find a lot of people are almost similar to that. There's very few that can balance that personal side with the business. You usually one lacks if you're so focused on it. Again, there's the occasional people that can do both, but normally I have family members that were huge in their careers and they couldn't utter a sentence with the guy. They were the Sloan.
Wow, Kristin, you're making me think about where I fit in this whole, like,
Which one are you?
Well,
Weigh in.
sometimes being in the communications business does not necessarily mean that in your personal life you are a great communicator. It's funny how that works out.
I like that the YouTube title with Maggie, though. Did you guys notice it said another New Yorker loses
Yes,
it?
yes. That was pretty funny.
prime example.
Yeah. But I feel that the whole thing with Don saying that to her, as horrible as it was and the timing and everything, I'm kind of glad that he did, because she needed to hear that. She needs to move on. She needs to somebody had to say it. They didn't love each other. One of them had to say it to the other eventually. And it's, why draw it out? Like, it said it, it's done.
I have a question. I'm no big defender of Don's, but based on what he had just seen and witnessed, was it really that bad? Because I didn't find it to be that much of a barb.
I just think it's always heartbreaking when somebody comes up to you and says, by the way, I never loved you. I thought I was a bad guy.
Honestly, I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was that bad either. I thought it was
way more revealing about what an idiot Don was.
He was trying to be with her, and he wasn't in love with her.
Right, exactly. So it makes you an idiot.
Exactly, right. She wasn't in love with him either, so they were both equally stupid, and just he was the one that said it out loud, really.
He was probably relieved.
I felt the burn, though.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Because,
It's just, the truth can hurt, and that the truth is they're not in love with each other, and to just realize and verbally say that all this work we put into this relationship.
But he just saw that video and talk about the truth.
Yeah, she just saw. He just saw.
That video seemed like a
for both of them.
Yeah,
it would hurt.
Well, he saw, and however many people have seen it on YouTube, and not only, at least he said to her in private, I don't love you.
It was face to
she
face.
said to everyone and to a bus full of strangers that she was in love with Jim, and then everybody on YouTube gets to see it.
That's what I mean. It's like in comparison,
but on his points. Don't go to her though, because she looked like a crazy.
Well, no, I mean, lunatic. Neither one of them gets points. The bottom line is,
she's like, I'm in love with not my boyfriend. Like, oh my God.
I'm just so happy it's over.
It's over. They're broken up. It's done.
Did you notice how many hits it got?
No, I didn't see it.
I didn't see that. We have to rewind later.
Sorry.
That would be good to know.
Then it changes.
That would be very good to know.
all in all, great episode. I'm excited to see those two move on, move apart, see what happens. Are Dawn and Sloan going to get together? I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
We'll
there's
see.
chemistry there.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some news and gossip.
TV News.
All right. Well, one thing I want to say, because I'm super excited about it, and I really wanted to Instagram this to everyone, but I couldn't. But I had the fortunate pleasure of actually meeting Aaron Sorkin a couple of weeks ago.
What?
I did. I met him at this event that one of my clients was sponsoring, and he was lovely, very nice. I told him about our after show. He's really excited about it, to watch it, and has told me that he wants to come on and join us.
Breaking news right now.
We'll see.
That is awesome.
You know, he told me that the
Send
cast.
Sloan to get him.
I know. So we're gonna try to really work that out and make that happen. He seemed really open to it and is really excited about it, and loved that we actually are fans of the show and watch and talk about it in the way that
And
we
if
do.
you guys want to see him on, tweet HBO or
Yes.
something. Help us out.
Help us out.
Or tweet
Yes.
us.
But he was very nice, and it was intimidating. It was funny to see everybody be so intimidated by him.
Tweet
But
Sorkin, go on AfterBuzz.
yes, that's where we need to get that trending. Sorkin on AfterBuzz.
That's right.
Hashtag Sorkin on AfterBuzz, everybody.
I like
So
that.
anyway, so
a
we're working on
no-brainer.
that on the side. So
The power of social media.
We're working on
Exactly.
getting a few special guests for this season, so we'll keep you posted when we have them
Sorkin
officially
would be a good
confirmed.
get.
yeah. Oh, whatever.
right.
He's just the creator of the show.
No, it would be fantastic.
That
So
would be
hopefully we
awesome
can
to
work
get
that out.
Sorkin on the desk.
I know.
And ask him his favorite Sorkinism.
Exactly. All right. So what do you guys have for news and gossip? What do we got?
Oh, I can just do mine quickly. 'cause you
Yeah,
have
go
a
ahead,
whole
yeah.
thing. Mine was just that Dev Patel, who we know is dating Frida Pinto in real life, has said that she forces him to watch himself on the show. And it was just a quick article about it, but it was cute because he said she'll say things like, "Wait, you did that scene better in the bathroom," you know. So just a little behind the scenes.
Oh, cute. So she likes to give him her own constructive criticism.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's helpful.
And then just my quick one to go back to Aaron Sorkin, where he was just talking about how he gets in contact with people in the news to make sure that his stories work really well. And he works with MSNBC's Chris Matthews, a bunch of other people. And one of the guys that got back to him about the big Operation Genoa that we're going to hear more about was actually based on a story of the U.S. Army using chemical weapons in Laos in 1970, and it turns out there was a lot of trouble with this story. It was called Operation Tailwind, and Rick Kaplan kind of helped him develop like what they went through when they reported on that, and there was a lot of trouble with it. And that was, and he also said he had a couple of others, unnamed sources he can't say who were part of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, during that time. And so he did his research, so I think it's going to parallel that story quite a bit. And as we noticed, he does use a lot of parallels with news stories.
Cool, and me and Kelly actually got a lot of inside info at the Paley Fest that we told you we attended back in March at the Q&A. So I'll just say one little fun fact because we're running out of time. But so Jeff Daniels was talking about the infamous speech that we all know about from season 1, episode 1, and a funny exchange happened between Aaron Sorkin and Jeff Daniels when they were rehearsing and they were about to actually shoot that scene. Aaron asked Jeff, "So do you need cue cards for this? Because I know it's really long. Because actually the speech is like pages and pages long, right?" And to prove to Aaron that he knew the speech, Jeff actually recited it backwards.
Oh my gosh.
Which seems crazy to me, and like it would be scripted into the show. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, oftentimes that's how you memorize something.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it helps.
Oh.
But pages and pages and
No,
pages?
that's surprising.
I mean, that's talent
Yeah.
right there. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's talent. He knows what
That's
he's
talent.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
one thing
good.
that we didn't get to mention is on the show, the intern is back, and he had her researching musicals. He had her doing like historical musicals and all this weird research. So I wonder how big her part is going to be as this season progresses. But hopefully we'll see a little bit more of her. I think that's just an interesting thing.
Yep.
She's the one that started it all, all the downfall with that infamous question.
It's always musicals with Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks again so much, everybody, for hanging out with us. We're so excited that this show is back. We are can't wait for the next season, and make sure to follow us here on AfterBuzz on Twitter, and you can follow me at Kellie with an IE 079.
You can follow me, Kristin Carole 13 on Twitter.
You can follow me at Kendra Kabasele.
You can follow me at Sarah with an H Mendoza.
You can't follow me anyway.
No, Twitter?
Yeah, you-
At AfterBuzz TV.
And no, you
John's
can't even follow
off the
me
grid.
there. But you can see me on Serial Buddies. We're out. Marissa, help me out. When's it coming out? Where?
It's available on iTunes for download, $4.99 to rent, $5.99 to buy. It's really
Awesome
funny.
movie.
Check
John
it
is,
out.
John is hilarious in it.
Very, very funny
Maria
movie.
Menounos is also in it.
Yeah. All right, we'll see you guys next week, and I promise I will not call Leona Fiona again. Thank you.
From
I don't believe you.
Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Tech, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.